My name is Avellini Marigold. I am 30 years old, and I work as an interior designer in San Francisco. My life has always been calm and happy. I had a good job, a loving husband, and a house I cared for. I liked my life. But everything changed on the day my younger brother got married. That day, a day that was supposed to be full of joy and celebration, turned into the most painful day of my life. But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it? I want to know how far this story goes. I was standing in a beautiful vineyard in Napa Valley. The sun was shining, making everything look golden and warm. The grapes on the vines looked shiny, and the flowers in the garden smelled sweet. I had a glass of wine in my hand, and I was watching my brother's wedding unfold. Friends and family were laughing, dancing, and celebrating. I thought this day would be perfect, a chance for everyone to be happy and start fresh. I had spent weeks choosing the perfect wedding gift for my brother, hoping it would help make things better in our family, which had been a little broken for a long time. But everything changed in a single moment. My parents stepped forward, smiling in a way that looked too big and fake. My heart beat fast. My mother lifted her glass and spoke loudly, so everyone could hear. "We're giving your house as a wedding gift to your brother." She looked straight at me when she said it. The crowd clapped and cheered, but I felt like my heart had been crushed into tiny pieces. That house was the only thing my grandmother had left me. It held so many memories of my childhood. Her laughter, her stories, the garden where we planted roses together, the little kitchen where I learned to bake, and even the creaky stairs I loved to slide down. And now, in front of dozens of people, my parents were taking it away. My brother laughed. "Come on, don't overreact," he said, waving his hand like I was being silly. His new wife smiled, acting like this was completely normal. I could feel dozens of eyes staring at me, friends, relatives, and even strangers, all waiting to see how I would react. My father looked down at the ground and avoided looking at me. My husband, Thorin, held my hand tightly. I felt pain all over my body, like someone had pressed on my heart. They were taking something that belonged to me, and no one even said sorry. But I knew I had to do something. I would not let them decide my life for me. I looked at my parents, my voice calm but strong, ready to fight. And what happened next changed my life forever. As their words sank in, my mind went back to the past. I remembered all the times I had been treated unfairly by my family. I remembered being 18, excited to go to college with a full scholarship. I wanted to study finance. It was my dream. But my mom, Rowena, said we couldn't afford to send both of us to college. Daxiel, my younger brother, wanted to go to a fancy private school, even though he barely passed high school. I gave up my scholarship, worked nights at a diner, and paid for my community college myself. My mom never blinked. She said Daxiel needed the better opportunity. When Daxiel missed summer internships because he was busy partying, my mom made excuses for him. "He's young. He'll figure it out," she said. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs to pay for rent and groceries. When I saved money to buy a used laptop for school, its keys were sticky from being overused. Daxiel got a brand new smartphone as a gift from my parents because he needed it to stay connected. I never complained. I told myself family comes first. But each time I gave in, it made me quietly angry inside, a weight I carried alone. The house from my grandmother was different. It wasn't just a house. It was her laughter, her stories, the garden where we planted roses together, the smell of cookies baking in her kitchen, and the little balcony where I spent summer evenings reading books. She left it to me. It was her last gift, meant to be mine forever. My mom knew how much it meant to me and promised to protect it. And now she was giving it away. I had spent years taking care of it, paying taxes, fixing things, and making sure it stayed just like she left it. Daxiel never helped, not once. Thorin, my husband, noticed all of this long before I did. One night, while we were having dinner at home, he said, "Avellini, you don't deserve this. That house is yours. You should fight for it." His words were like a spark, lighting up the fog of always putting my family first. I thought about every sacrifice I had made, every time I bit my tongue to keep the peace. Daxiel laughing at the wedding, brushing me off like I was nothing, was the last straw. I wasn't a kid anymore. I knew that the house wasn't just a building. It was my line in the sand. My mom's promises, Daxiel's selfishness, and my dad's silence had gone on for too long. I gripped my wine glass tightly, feeling years of anger lift off my shoulders. I decided, right there in front of everyone, to stand up for myself. I had spent hours picking a pale blue gown for the wedding. Its soft fabric reminded me of the roses in my grandmother's garden. I wanted this wedding to be a fresh start, a chance to fix the broken parts of our family. For years, I had tried to make peace with my mom and Daxiel. I called my mom on holidays, hoping to have real conversations, but she always redirected the conversation to Daxiel. I invited Daxiel to coffee to reconnect, but he canceled because he was too busy with his own life. Each attempt left me feeling emptier and rejected. At the wedding, everyone was laughing and dancing under the string lights. I stood at the edge of the crowd, watching. Then my parents stepped forward. My mom raised her voice and said, "We're giving your house as a wedding gift to your brother." She looked right at me while saying it. The words hit me like a slap. Guests clapped, not knowing how much it hurt. Daxiel laughed and shrugged. "Don't overreact," he said. The insult burned hotter than anything I had felt before. This wasn't just about a house. It was my grandmother's legacy, her last gift to me, and my mom was breaking her promise in front of everyone. I felt every eye on me waiting. My hands shook, but I reached into my purse and pulled out the inheritance agreement my grandmother had left me. I stepped forward, my heels clicking on the wooden floor of the vineyard. "Excuse me," I said, my voice cutting through the music and chatter. The band paused, confused. Everyone turned to look. I held up the document. "This is the inheritance agreement for my house. My grandmother left it to me and only me. Mom, you were there when she made me promise to keep it safe. You promised to honor that." My mom's smile faltered. Gasps went around the crowd. Daxiel's face tightened, his jaw stiff. My dad looked uncomfortable and avoided my gaze. My mom tried to speak, but no words came out. I read the key part aloud, making sure everyone could hear. "The property at 124 Willow Lane, Napa Valley, is left only to Avellini Marigold. It cannot be given to anyone else without my consent." The room went completely silent. The truth was clear. I felt exposed, raw, and a little scared, but I wasn't backing down. My best friend Lyric slipped beside me and whispered, "You've got this." Her hand brushed mine, and I felt braver, stronger, ready to face everyone. I faced my mom. My voice was firm. "You don't get to change my grandmother's wishes for Daxiel's happiness. This house is mine, and I'm done letting you pretend otherwise." My mom hissed at me, "You're embarrassing us." But I didn't care. For the first time, I chose myself. I wasn't going to let anyone take what was mine. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. Daxiel had posted online, twisting the story. "Some people are too selfish to share," he wrote. "I got married yesterday, and my sister made it all about a house she doesn't even need. Family should help each other, not tear us down." The comments poured in. Friends, distant cousins, even strangers called me greedy, entitled, and dramatic. Each word felt like a sharp needle, trying to make me feel like I was a bad person. But deep down I knew the truth. I had stood up for myself, for my grandmother, and for everything she had left me. I knew the house was mine. I had fought for it, and I wouldn't give up. Even though the day had started with so much joy for my brother, it became a turning point for me. I realized I could finally stop being quiet and letting my family take advantage of me. I learned that it was okay to speak up, even if it made some people angry. I was no longer the quiet sister who always gave in. I was Avellini Marigold, and I had a right to protect what was mine. The vineyard, with its golden sunlight and soft breeze, held a new memory for me now. It wasn't just a place of sadness, it was where I found my courage. And even though some people didn't understand or agree, I knew I had done the right thing. For the first time in my life, I felt truly proud of myself. I scrolled through my phone with hands that shook so badly I almost dropped it. Marceline, Daxiel's new wife, had liked the post. Her name shone bright in the list of people who had liked it. She even added a heart emoji, like she thought everything Daxiel said was true. I could almost picture her nodding and agreeing with him in her mind. It hurt so much I didn't expect it. She barely knew me, yet she took his side without even thinking. I wanted to type a reply to tell the truth, but my fingers froze above the keyboard. Every part of me wanted to fight back, to defend myself, but I knew that would only make things worse. Then my email pinged. It was from Rowena. The subject line was short and sharp. "You've gone too far." My stomach twisted as I clicked to open it. "Avellini," she wrote, "your outburst last night was shameful. You're breaking the family apart. You are ruining your brother's happiness over a house you don't even live in. We raised you better than this." Each word hit me like a slap. It made me doubt myself, even though I knew I was right. She didn't mention her broken promise to Grandma. She didn't say a single word about the inheritance agreement I had read aloud in front of everyone. It was as if everything I had done the night before never happened. I felt dizzy reading it, trying to make sense of her words. While I was still processing Rowena's email, my phone buzzed again. It was a text from Dawn. "You need to see this," she wrote. My heart sank as I clicked the link. It was a crowdfunding page Daxiel had made called "Help Us Start Our New Life." The description twisted the story of the wedding. It said that I had been selfish and left them without the house that was promised, and now they were asking people to give money to build their future. A few $100s had already been donated by people I didn't even know, all believing Daxiel's story. My hands shook as I looked at it. He wasn't just lying. He was trying to make money off of the lies. I showed the phone to Thorin. My hands trembled as I held it out to him. He read the post and the crowdfunding page, his jaw tight, and then looked at me calmly. "They're trying to bury you," he said. "Don't fight them online. That's exactly what they want. Stay focused on the legal side. You have the truth." He was right. Daxiel's posts, Rowena's email, Marceline's blind support, they were all distractions to make me angry and push me to react. I had to stay calm and protect what was mine. I closed the app and didn't read any more comments. I didn't reply to Rowena's email or talk to Daxiel. Instead, I wrote down notes for my next steps: call a lawyer, gather documents, and secure the house. Even though I was trying to stay calm, notifications kept popping up on my phone, like tiny reminders that my family was trying to make me feel guilty. But I wasn't the same girl who let them walk all over me. I had exposed their lies before, and I was ready to do it again, but this time on my own terms. A week later, I sat across from my lawyer, Ms. Elena Harper, in her office. The room smelled like coffee and old books, a comforting mix that made me feel a little less anxious. I handed her the inheritance agreement. Grandma's handwriting was still bright and clear on the paper. "I need to make sure this house is legally mine," I said, my voice steady, though I felt a tight knot in my chest. Elena skimmed the document, tapping her pen against her notebook. She asked about the wedding, the claims from my family, and what my parents thought about everything. I told her the story, keeping my emotions in check and focusing on the facts. The house was willed to me, notarized and uncontested for years. Elena nodded. "This is solid," she said. "We'll file a formal claim to reinforce your ownership and prevent anyone from challenging it." Back home, I called a locksmith. By noon, new deadbolts shone on the front and back doors. The old keys Rowena and Sebastian still didn't work anymore. I sat at the kitchen table staring at my phone. My finger hovered over Rowena's number, then Sebastian's. I remembered all the times their voices had lectured me about selfishness and unfairness. I deleted both numbers. My heart pounded in my chest, but I felt lighter. It wasn't just changing my phone settings, it was drawing a line. I was saying I wouldn't let them control me anymore. Thorin came home from work, his laptop bag slung over his shoulder. He noticed the new locks and gave me a small, quiet smile. "Good move," he said, setting his bag down. "But we should go further. Let's move into the house, not just visit but live there. It's yours, and staying there sends a message." I thought about it. He was right. I had always seen the house as something for the future, a plan to settle later. But Thorin was right. Living there would cement my claim, not just legally, but for anyone watching. We talked about packing, redirecting mail, updating our address, and moving our things. The thought of waking up in Grandma's home, surrounded by her roses and memories, made me feel proud. It felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. That evening, my phone buzzed with a message from Marceline. "Can we talk about the agreement? I just want to understand." Her tone was polite, but I saw through it. She had backed Daxiel's lies online, and now she wanted answers on his terms. I stared at the message, tempted to respond, but I remembered I had already told the truth at the wedding. Answering would only drag me back into their drama. I left the text unread and placed my phone face down. Marceline didn't deserve my energy. Not now, maybe not ever. As I lay in bed that night, a strange calm settled over me. Cutting Rowena and Sebastian out, securing the house, ignoring Marceline. It felt like shedding a heavy weight I'd carried for years. For the first time, I wasn't reacting to their moves. I was making my own. A part of me was still on edge, bracing for their next move. Rowena's email had been sharp. Daxiel's posts had been relentless. They wouldn't let this go quietly. The next morning, Elena called with an update. She had reviewed the agreement, double-checked property records, and even consulted a colleague. "The inheritance is ironclad," she said. "Grandma's will is clear, and even Rowena's verbal promise, while not legally binding, helps your story if they try to contest it. No one can take this house from you. Her words grounded me. The house wasn't just mine by law. It was my grandmother's trust in me, a legacy I had to protect no matter what happened next. 2 weeks later, a car pulled into my driveway. I was arranging boxes in the living room of Grandma's house when I heard the crunch of gravel. I peeked through the window and saw Rowena, Daxiel, and Marceline stepping out of a sleek black SUV. They hadn't called, hadn't texted, just showed up, their faces serious and determined. I opened the door and stood firm, the shiny new deadbolt behind me. Thorin came up beside me, his presence steadying my nerves. Dawn, who had come to help unpack, lingered nearby, her phone in hand. Rowena spoke first, her voice sharp. "Avellini, you need to withdraw that inheritance claim. This house belongs to Daxiel. It's his future, not yours." Daxiel stepped forward, arms crossed. "You're making a fool of yourself," he said coldly. "Just sign it over and stop dragging this out." Marceline's eyes darted between us, but she stayed silent, clutching her purse. Their words hit me like a wave, but I had prepared for this. I wasn't the same person who let them walk over me before. I took a deep breath and met Rowena's gaze. "You don't get to decide what's mine," I said firmly. "And Daxiel, you have no right to this house, especially after what you did." Their eyes narrowed, but I pressed on. "You sold Grandma's jewelry, didn't you? The sapphire necklace and the gold locket. I found the pawn shop email in her old account, showing that you cashed them out 2 years ago." I pulled out my phone and showed them the email. It had the receipt, $5,000 signed by Daxiel. Marceline froze. Her face went pale. "You sold her jewelry?" she whispered. She looked at Daxiel, searching his face for an explanation. Daxiel stammered, his confidence cracking. "It wasn't like that. I needed the money," he said, avoiding her gaze. Marceline's expression shifted. Doubt crept into her eyes. She had believed Daxiel before, but now she could see something was wrong. For the first time, she seemed to really see him. Her trust, the kind that made her always believe him no matter what, started to shake. Rowena spoke up, her voice getting louder. "This isn't about jewelry, Avellini. You're hurting this family." But her words didn't sound strong. Her hands kept moving nervously, twisting and fidgeting like she didn't know what to do. Lyric, who was standing quietly by the couch, tapped her phone. "I'm recording this," she said calmly, holding up the phone so everyone could see it. Rowena's eyes got wide, and her mouth opened as if to say something, but no words came out. Daxiel gave her a sharp look, his jaw tight, and his hands clenched. "Turn that off," he snapped, his voice full of anger. But Lyric didn't move. "It's to protect Avellini," she said firmly, her tone steady and strong. The room felt heavy. Everyone's big, brave faces were starting to fall. Rowena's face turned red, and she lost her usual control as she realized everything she said was being recorded. Her calm, confident look disappeared, replaced by panic. Daxiel's anger didn't help him either. His charm, the thing he always used to get what he wanted, felt weak now. I stepped forward, my voice strong and steady. "You need to leave," I said, pointing to the driveway. "This house belongs to me. I'm done with your demands and your guilt trips. I'm done with all of it." Rowena tried to speak, her voice soft now. "Avellini, let's talk as a family." I stopped her immediately. "No, you don't get to do that anymore. Get out." My words hung in the room, strong and firm. There was no room for argument. Marceline looked unsure. She glanced at Daxiel and then back at me. Finally, she followed Rowena and Daxiel to the car. Thorin put his hand on my shoulder and said quietly, "You did the right thing." His steady eyes gave me support and made me feel stronger, like I wasn't alone. I watched their car drive away. The confrontation left me shaking, but I felt sure inside. I had faced them. I had shown everyone Daxiel's lies and had stood my ground. This house, my grandmother's special home, was mine, and I wasn't giving it up for anyone. A month later, everyone in Napa Valley was talking. People were gossiping about what Daxiel had done. His crowdfunding campaign, the one he had started to get money for his problems, fell apart. People asked for their money back when Lyric's recording of our fight got out. It showed that he had tried to bully me into giving up my house. Even his co-workers at the winery, who used to pat him on the back and laugh with him, started keeping their distance. They whispered when he came in. Daxiel's charm, the thing everyone liked about him, was disappearing. He was no longer the golden boy, but a man trapped by his own lies. Marceline was the first to confront the truth. After our fight, she asked Daxiel about the pawned jewelry. His excuses didn't work when she checked their money. He said they were struggling, which was why he asked for crowdfunding. but she found bank statements showing he had spent thousands on fancy dinners and a new watch. The betrayal hurt her deeply. She had believed his story, only to find out he had tricked her too. She cried when she talked to him, and his excuses made her even more determined. Within days, she filed for divorce and moved to her sister's house in Soma. Everyone in town was talking about it. Each story made Daxiel look worse and worse. Rowena felt the consequences too. Her friends from the book club, who used to support her, started whispering about how she treated me unfairly. One asked at a charity event, loud enough for everyone to hear, how could she betray her own daughter like that? Rowena, who always went to Nappa's parties, started saying no to invitations. She missed the big vineyard gala that year, and people noticed. The criticism hurt. She had spent years making people think she was fair, but her actions showed the truth. Meanwhile, Thorin and I found a new routine. Every Sunday, we drove to a small cafe on Main Street. We sat in a corner booth with hot lattes and warm scones. Those mornings made me feel calm. We talked about the house, painting the porch, planting roses, or just sat quietly, watching people chat. Those times felt like I was taking my life back and building something new, free from family pressure. I looked forward to those Sundays because they made me feel normal again. One evening, my phone rang. It was Sebastian. His name showed on the screen, a number I hadn't deleted but hadn't answered in weeks. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message, his voice soft. Avelini, can we talk? I just want to understand. His tone was gentler than Rowena's, but it was the same old guilt. He wanted to fix things. I didn't call back. I had spent too many years trying to get their approval, only to see them excuse Daxiel. Ignoring Sebastian's call felt like closing a door I had left open too long. The town was judging everyone. Marceline leaving, Rowena hiding away. They were facing the results of choices made long ago. I didn't feel happy about their struggles, but I felt quiet satisfaction. My grandmother's house, her trust in me was safe. For the first time, I was living for myself, not for a family that never really understood me. On my 31st birthday, Thorin and I walked through the vineyard. The grapevines stretched under the morning sun. We headed back to my grandmother's house, my home. We planned a quiet celebration with just the two of us. The dining room table had a small cake with fresh raspberries on top. Thorin lit the candles and sang a little, off-key, making me laugh for the first time in weeks. Surrounded by my grandmother's old photos and the creaky floors, I felt a piece of myself I hadn't felt in years. That afternoon, a letter arrived. Rowena's handwriting was easy to recognize. I opened it, expecting another plea. Avelini, you're hurting us all, she wrote. Let's forget this and be a family again. Her words tried to pull me back, but I read it once and tore the paper into pieces, throwing them in the trash. Her tricks no longer worked. I had heard enough. I made a decision that day. I blocked Rowena, Sebastian, and Daxiel. I cut the last connections with them. Their voices, demands, and excuses belonged to the past. Deleting their names felt like taking off a heavy coat I had worn for too long. I didn't need their approval to know my worth, and I wouldn't let their meanness control me. Later, Lyric came by with a bottle of wine and news. She had talked to Marceline, who was rebuilding her life after leaving Daxiel. She got a new job, Lyric said, pouring us each a glass. She's doing marketing for a winery in Soma. She's staying with her sister and starting fresh. I nodded, feeling a little relieved. Marceline had been tricked, but she was moving on. Her choice to start over felt like a quiet echo of my own. It reminded me that freedom was possible, even after betrayal. As the evening went on, I sat on the porch. The vineyard air was cool against my skin. I thought about the past year, the wedding, the fight, the gossip. I had fought for my grandmother's house, not just for the building, but for what it meant, her trust, her love, and my independence. The biggest lesson wasn't about winning or losing. It was about self-respect. Family shouldn't make you lose your dignity. Walking away from Rowena, Sebastian, and Daxiel wasn't easy, but it was needed. Their love came with strings, and I learned that true connection doesn't take your soul. I leaned back in the porch chair and watched the sunset over the vineyard. The orange and pink light made the grape leaves shine like little jewels. I felt the cool breeze on my face and the peace of knowing I had done the right thing. I wasn't just protecting a house. I was protecting myself, my happiness, and my future. Thorin joined me, sitting down with his glass of wine. We clinked our glasses quietly, smiling at each other. You've done so much, he said softly. You've protected what matters and stood up for yourself. I smiled back. I had to. I couldn't let them control me anymore. Not Rowena, not Sebastian, not Daxiel. We stayed on the porch for a long time, just watching the vines and listening to the sounds of the evening. Birds chirped, and somewhere in the distance a dog barked. It was simple, quiet, and safe. I felt like my life was finally mine to live. Even after all the chaos, the lies, and the betrayal, I had learned something important. Family is not just about sharing a name or a house. Family is about respect, love without control, and trust. And sometimes the best way to protect that is to walk away from the people who hurt you. I knew it wouldn't always be easy. There might be days when I thought about them or felt the old guilt creep in. But I also knew I was strong now. I had my own life, my own choices, and my own happiness. Thorin and I walked back inside, closing the door behind us. The house smelled like fresh flowers and the faint scent of baked bread. Everything felt familiar, warm, and safe. My grandmother's pictures looked down from the walls, and I felt her love surrounding me. I knew she would be proud. Later, we sat by the fireplace. Thorin read a book, and I wrote in my journal. I wrote about the lessons I had learned, the people I had lost, and the new life I was building. Each word on the page felt like a step forward, a step away from the past. Even though Rowena, Sebastian, and Daxiel were gone from my life, I didn't feel empty. I felt free. I had my home, my love, and my dignity. And for the first time in years, I was truly happy.